Hi, today I'm going to show you how you can make your own watercolour paints. Now these are a few that I've made. Some I made yesterday and some I made not that long ago. As you can see, some are still wet. And to make these I'm using sculpting pigments and also a new product which is called PigmentXtra. Now this is a pre-mixed solution that you just mix with your pigments and you can make paints with them. So I'll show you how to do it. First of all, choose your pigment. So I'm going to choose a silver because, oh actually I have got silver already. I'm going to choose bronze gold. So get a little bit of your pigment. Shake your PigmentXtra and just use the dropper to drip onto your pigment, and as you're dripping it, just mix it up. Now bronze gold looks quite greenish, but when you actually mix it, it's like a very goldy green. One of my favourite colours actually. So mix it until you get it as thick as you want it to be. Now don't get it too runny, because if it's too runny you'll find it really hard to get into the palette. So that's probably about right. And use and just put it in like this. And you'd be surprised at how much you can get up. You know, there's very little waste. I'm doing this on a glass craft mat, but you could do it on anything shiny. A piece of glass would be perfect, or if you don't have a piece of glass, then you could do it on a saucer or something like that. Now, you could just leave it like this, but I like mine to look pretty and smooth, so I'm going to add a couple more drops and just mix it around, and this way it will self-level, and because it self-levels it looks a lot neater. So that's that. I'm just getting a cloth. Now I've made these in a Tim Holtz ink palette, and you can buy these online from about £5 upwards, but you may not want to buy a Tim Holtz ink palette, although I quite like them because they've got a nice lid and you can close them and open them. You could also do them in a pound store ice cube tray, which would work just as well. So we can get some of our pigments. A few drops. This is one of our interference colours, which, as you can see as I'm mixing it, it's a lovely sort of purpley colour. I think I may have put a little bit too much here, but it doesn't matter. And you actually use very little. So I'm just going to pick this up and put it in my ice cube tray. And then just get it down to the bottom, mix a little bit more just so it self-levels. I'm just going to almost use it to wipe off the sides a little bit. I'm very messy crafter. And that's that. Now one last way I'll show you, which is even cheaper, And this is a little jewellery box that I had upstairs in my bedroom. And all I've done is I've got a magnetic, it's got a bit grubby because I've got it on my hands, but it's just a magnet. Put the magnet in there, and these are just bottle tops. And of course, they will stick on the magnet. So you can make this as big or as small as you wanted. If you've got a big one, a big box, then do it with the big box. If you've got a smaller box, do it with a smaller box. So let's do a green one this time, just to show you. Now you don't have to use as much as I'm using here. You can use much less. But to be honest, it looks like a lot, but it doesn't, it's not nearly as much as you think. And this doesn't just have to be with sculpting pigments. You can use this with any pigment. You can use this with Perfect Pearls or Pearlex, and it will work pretty much exactly the same. So, you know, use any pigments that you've got. So let's get our bottle cap. And then once I've done this, I'll show you how the pigments work. Try not to be like me and spread it all over the mat. If you can keep it in a smaller area, it works a lot better. So let's pop that in the middle. Couple of extra drops. Just to level it. And there's your paint. Ready to go in your palette. Okay, so how do you use these? Well, pigments themselves don't stay on what you're using. They don't stick. And these pigments have got nothing in them that makes them stick to anything. So if I just mix this with water and painted it on something, and then once it dried and I rubbed it, it would just come off. So obviously that's not going to work very well. But with this formula, what it does is it makes it stick. So it works a little bit like watercolours. So first of all, I'm going to use one that's dried. So let's have a look which is a nice dry one. Silver. Silver's dry, as you can see. So a good way to use them is to get a water spray or a water bottle. This is just plain water. Put a little bit on top, and if you leave them for a few seconds, what happens is it rehydrates that liquid. So what you can do, once it's a bit rehydrated, and can you see it works ever so quickly, it doesn't take ages, and the more water you put, the more liquidy the paint will be. So if you want it quite thick, just put a little bit of water. If you want it thinner, then put more water. And as you can see, it works lovely. No problems at all. Now these are some that I did earlier. Here, a butterfly and these. And as you can see, they're not coming off. You know, they're well stuck. If you wet them, they would probably reconstitute themselves and they'd go soft. But if you leave them dry, they'll be fine. You can also use the ones that you've just made. So we've made a green one over here. So I could use this directly. Now this is quite thick, so it's going to be quite a thick paint. So I can use that straight away. And as you can see, it works lovely on black. The interference colours are probably my favourite on the black. And I've got a couple of interference colours here. I've got a pinky purpley one, which is absolutely lovely. So I'll show you how that works. And as you can see, it reconstitutes itself so quickly. So this is on black, and you can see it's got that beautiful purpley colour. Now don't think you can only use them on black, because this one doesn't work quite so well on white because it's quite pale, so you won't get much of a colour. But if you use the darker colours, so if we go back to our silver, as you can see, works perfectly on white. We could use some blue, because I think the blue's still wet from earlier. It's quite thick, this. Oh, actually, not as thick as I thought. And there's the blue. Now, these are all pearlescent colours. It doesn't have to be pearlescent colours, because I've also done them in matte colours. So this purple is a matte colour, and as you can see, that works just as well. And here's a matte colour that's dry. As you can see, it's completely dry. Put a couple of drops of water on it. Use your paintbrush. The mattes you probably need to wet a little bit longer, because they're a little bit harder than the... and as you can see, that works like that. So, as I said, Sculpting PigmentXtra, and you can make your DIY watercolours. So you can go for the more expensive option with the Tim Holtz, which, as I said, this is about £5. A pound shop ice cube tray, which you could do in any shapes, you know, nice little heart ones, or the cheaper version, and do it with your bottle caps. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please subscribe. I'd love you to subscribe to my channel, and thank you very much for watching. Bye.